8,000 years ago, a flying object appeared in the sky, above a city that wasn't even supposed to exist. It didn't crash. It didn't burn. It hovered, glowing, as the people below fell to their knees. Ancient carvings show what looks like a modern spacecraft, and beings with metal suits, and eyes like fire. But that's not the shocking part. The shocking part is, this event was recorded, hidden in stone, covered up by kings, buried by empires, and erased from history. Until now, welcome to Historia Unseen. My name is John, and I'm the voice behind your story today. Let's begin. They said it was just a legend, a made-up story carved into old stones. But what if it wasn't? What if one of the oldest nations in the world was born the same night something flew down from the sky? It didn't come from a mountain or from the ocean. It came from above the clouds, glowing, humming, watching. And what happened next changed history forever. It was the time before maps, before borders, before books, when people still feared the sky and worshipped the fire. In the center of the world, surrounded by rivers and jungle, stood a group of small tribes. They hunted, they danced, they watched the stars, but they had no name, no kingdom, no king. Until one night, something happened. The sky cracked open. A bright white light, brighter than anything they had ever seen, came floating down from the stars. It was not the moon. It was not lightning. It moved, slowly, like it was searching for something. People dropped to their knees. Children cried. Elders whispered prayers in languages lost to time. The object was round, metallic, glowing from underneath. It made no sound, just a deep hum, a sound that made the earth feel like it was breathing. It hovered above a flat hilltop. That hilltop would later become a temple, and that temple would become the heart of a new nation. But that night, it was just dirt and fear. From the glowing object, light beams touched the ground, and something stepped out. They weren't spirits. They weren't men. They were something else. Tall, covered in what looked like armor, their faces hidden behind gold-like masks, their hands glowing with blue energy. They didn't speak, but somehow everyone understood. One elder stepped forward. His name has been lost to history, but some say he was the first to be chosen. He reached out his hand, and the being placed a small, glowing object in his palm. A tube, warm like fire, light like air, and inside it, symbols moved like water. That was the gift. That was the beginning. After that night, everything changed. The tribes, once separated, came together under one leader. The elder who saw the sky being became their first king. They built walls, they built roads, they built temples, all pointing up to the sky, as if waiting for something to retain. The people believed they were chosen by the stars, that they had a mission, a duty to protect the gift. And so a nation was born. Not from war, not from conquest, but from the sky. The name of that nation is now lost in time, but its ruins remain, buried beneath dirt and jungle. Temples carved with strange shapes. Symbols no one today can understand, except one. A scientist named Dr. Morrow, who found something in 1973 that looked like a battery, but dated back 8,000 years. It matched the stories, and it glowed just like the cube. But before he could share it with the world, he disappeared. Gone. No body, no files, no evidence. Only one message was left on his tape recorder. They were here before us. They never left. The glowing object vanished into the sky. But what it left behind changed everything. The people believed it was a sign. They said the gods had chosen them. And from that belief, they built something the world had never seen before. A city. Not just any city. A city made of black stone. So hard, no blade could cut it. So strong, even the jungle couldn't break it down. They carved it deep into the earth, and high into the mountains, with steps that reached the clouds, and towers shaped like rockets. It became a city of whispers, a place only few were allowed to enter. They called it Shanavata, the place where stars rest. But over time, the name disappeared from the world, and so did the city. For thousands of years, it stayed buried, lost under trees, mud, and silence, until, in 1924, A British explorer named Henry Olcott was traveling through a dense forest in South Asia. He was searching for rare animals, not ancient ruins. But then, he saw something. A stone. Just a piece of black rock, sticking out from the ground. He brushed off the date, and found strange carvings, lines and circles, that look almost like a map. Henry dug deeper, and found stairs, going down. He followed them. What he found shocked him. A giant hallway, buried underground. Walls filled with images. Beings, with helmets. Machines, flying in the air. And a round object in the sky, shooting beams down to the earth. At first, he thought it was just ancient art. But then he noticed something strange. One carving showed a being, holding a cube, just like the object described in the local legends. Henry quickly made notes, took photos, and wrote a letter to the British Museum. But days later, he vanished. Locals say he was taken by the jungle. Others aren't so sure. His photos were never found. His notes disappeared. Only one page survived, found inside a glass bottle near a river. It read, "The cube is real. The city breathes. They are waiting." No one dared to go back there, and the forest slowly swallowed the city again. But not everything was lost. A few villages kept the stories alive, told by grandparents to grandchildren. Whispers in the wind. They spoke of tall beings who came from the stars, of a gift too powerful to touch, and of a warning never to wake the city again. They believed the city was not just stone, but a door to something not of this world, and maybe, just maybe, still open. In 2001, a satellite passing over that same region captured a strange heat signature. It looked like a grid, deep under the trees. Perfectly shaped, perfectly aligned. NASA called it a natural formation. But a man named Dr. Rafiq Sen, a forgotten scientist from New Delhi, disagreed. He compared the satellite image to ancient star charts. The symbols matched. Every tower, every step, every line in that hidden city was built to align with constellations we didn't discover until the 1980s. How did they know? How could a civilization 8,000 years ago build something so perfect? Without machines, without telescopes, without help. Or maybe they had help. The same help that came from the sky. Today, the city remains off limits, guarded by thick jungle, local fears, and government silence. No roads lead in. No maps show the way. And yet, it waits, sleeping beneath the soil, listening, watching, waiting. The stars were clear that night. The air still. No bird sang. No wind blew. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath. Then, it came. A light, in the sky, far brighter than the moon. Moving slowly, silently. Too perfect to be a star. Too strange to be a dream. It hovered high above the black mountains near the forgotten city. Round, metallic, like a silver bell floating in the sky. The villagers saw it first. Old men pointed in fear. Children hid behind stone walls. Dogs howled and refused to move. The elders whispered the old words. The gods have returned. But this time, it was different. The light didn't just watch from the sky. It came down, slowly, gently. It lowered itself over the sacred hill, the same place where the cube had first appeared, thousands of years ago. And then, a soft hum filled the air. Not loud, not painful, but deep. So deep, people felt it in their bones. Stones on the ground began to shake. Fires flickered without wind. Water in nearby pots rippled like something alive. The object glowed blue from beneath. A beam of light extended to the earth, like a path. A bridge between two worlds. And something stepped out. Tall, slender, wrapped in a dark, smooth material that shimmered like liquid metal. No face, only a mask, shaped like a human, but far too perfect. Its eyes were two white orbs, glowing softly, watching everything, but blinking at nothing. Behind it came another, and another. 3 beings, each one identical, each one silent. They moved with grace, like they floated just above the ground. No footprints, no sound. The villagers didn't run. They couldn't. It was as if time had stopped. The beings walked toward the old altar, the one built for the cube. It was cracked, broken, forgotten by time. But the beings didn't look confused. They remembered. One of them raised a hand. A small, glowing object appeared in its palm, spinning slowly. It looked like the same cube from the old legends. Only now, it was brighter, alive. The moment it touched the altar, everything changed. The clouds above turned red. The sky pulsed like a heartbeat, and strange shapes appeared in the air, symbols made of light, floating, circling the beings. Then, they spoke. Not in words, not in sound, but in thought. Everyone understood them. You were chosen. Long before you were born. This city is not yours. It is ours. The villagers dropped to their knees. Some cried. Some smiled. But one child, only 7 years old, stood up. He walked toward the beings. He did not speak. He did not stop. The light from the cube reached out and touched his chest. He didn't fall. He didn't burn. He stood still, eyes closed, as if listening to something no one else could hear. Then he opened his mouth. They are not here to harm us. He said, they are here to finish what they started. That boy's name is not recorded in history books, but years later, he would lead a secret movement, a movement to protect the truth, to guard the cube, to keep the forgotten city hidden, because the beings weren't gone. They had returned, and this time, they planned to stay. The cube stopped glowing, but its power remained. The beings stood silently, watching the boy, watching the people, watching the land that had changed, but somehow stayed the same. Then, they turned to the altar. One of them raised both hands. A symbol appeared in the sky, glowing like fire, spinning above the temple ruins. It wasn't just light. It was a message, but only a few could understand it. The elders stepped forward. One of them, a woman named Vari, spoke first. "Why have you come back?" she asked. "What do you want from us now?" The beings didn't move, but the answer came, inside their minds. The deal must be completed. That night, deep inside the forest temple, a secret meeting was held. No outsiders were allowed. No scrolls were written. No witnesses survived. But the story passed through whispers. It is said the beings offered something. Not just power, not just light, but knowledge. Knowledge of things far beyond the earth. How to bend air. How to grow food without soil. How to build towers that float. How to speak without words. How to travel through time without moving. But the knowledge came with a price. Silence. The beings warned. You may use what we give, but you must never speak of us. Never carve our image. Never share our name, or the skies will burn again. The elders were torn. One side believed this was a gift, a blessing, a second chance to become something more. But others feared it. They remembered what happened long ago, when the mountains shook, when rivers turned to steam, when fire rained from the heavens. Still, they made the deal. In exchange for knowledge, they would erase all signs of the visitors. Temples would be sealed. Stones would be buried. The cube would be hidden where no man could find it. And the beings would leave. At sunrise, the villagers gathered to say goodbye. The skyship floated above the trees, silent, watching. One of the beings stepped forward again and gave the boy something new. A ring. Simple. Black. But when held to the light, it showed stars. Stars that hadn't been discovered yet. He wore it for the rest of his life. And then, the ship rose into the clouds, higher and higher, until it became nothing but a dot in the sky. And then, gone, just like before. The people stayed quiet. They burned the scrolls. They covered the statues. They passed the truth only in whispers, from one guardian to the next. But over time, the truth faded. Memory turned to myth. And the cube was forgotten. Until now. Because something strange happened in 1977. In a small desert lab in New Mexico, a scientist was testing an unknown metal sample. It had been found during a dig in southern India, under a collapsed shrine. It wasn't from Earth. No element matched. No acid could melt it. And it pulsed, softly, like a heartbeat. Inside it were the same spinning symbols found in the forest temple. One night, the object disappeared from the lab, and the scientist, he was never seen again. Only his notebook remained. On the final page, a single line. The deal is broken. They are returning. The cube was gone, and so was the scientist. But the mystery had just begun. In 1981, deep in the archives of the Indian Geological Survey, a box was discovered. Dusty, unlabeled, locked with a rusted chain. Inside it were sketches, drawings of the black ring, the cube, and something else. A machine, round, floating, with legs that folded under like bird claws, and markings that matched carvings found 8,000 miles away in Mexico. How could two ancient cultures, oceans apart, carve the same shapes? Some called it coincidence. Others knew better. One man, Dr. Eli Mercer, believed the answer was hidden in sound. He had studied the hums recorded by the villagers near the forgotten city. Strange tones heard just before the ship appeared in the sky. When he ran those tones through a machine, a pattern appeared. Not music, not language. Blueprints. Hidden inside the sound were diagrams, instructions, schematics for something ancient and powerful. He tried to publish the findings, but days before the report was released, his house burned down. They said it was an accident, but someone had deleted his files, wiped his hard drives, erased everything, except for one old photograph found in his desk drawer. A photo of a carving. A man standing before a flying ship, holding up a ring. The same black ring from the boy in the forest. Still glowing. That same year, in a hidden room beneath the Vatican Library, a page from a lost scroll was recovered. It spoke of a star kingdom that once touched the earth, of beings who moved without walking, and a silent weapon made of light. The scroll was instantly sealed. No pictures were allowed. The priest who found it transferred the next day and never heard from again. Why would the church hide a story older than the Bible, unless it wasn't a story at all? In 1994, a deep-sea diver found something buried off the coast of Sri Lanka. Not a ship, not a statue, but a gay, large, round, made of black metal, with symbols no one could decode. It didn't rust. It didn't sink. It vibrated. He brought it to the surface. The next morning, his boat was gone. Only wreckage remained. And the gay, missing. For years, rumors spread of secret organizations collecting ancient alien objects, of vaults buried beneath deserts, of scientists who vanished after touching the cube. Then, one final clue. In 2008, a hacker named Raven_7 leaked a video to the dark web. Grainy, silent, but clay. It showed a room, cold, metallic, underground. In the center, a black cube, floating 6 inches above the table, spinning. 2 men in suits watched it. Then, the cube flashed. Bright white light. The screen cut to black. Under the video, one sentence appeared. They lied. The cube is awake, and it remembers everything. The video vanished in less than an hour. The hacker was never traced. No news outlet touched the story. No expert spoke about it. But the message was loud and clear. The evidence was out there. Buried, erased, stolen, hidden. And those who found it didn't live long enough to share it. Which raises the question, if this was all just a myth, if there was nothing to hide, why are so many people trying to bury the truth? The truth was getting louder, but so was the silence. Every time someone came close to the cube, to the city, to the beings, they vanished. Not in the way myths dissipate, in the way people do when someone powerful wants them gone. Governments started acting strange. In 2009, a research team from Norway filed a request to dig near the ancient ruins in South India. The permit was approved. Then, 24 hours later, cancelled. No reason given. Months later, a satellite image showed heavy machinery near the same site, but not by archaeologists, by soldiers. They wore no flags, no country badges, only black suits and white gloves. And the site, wiped clean. Not one brick remained. Even the trees were gone. In the official report, no historical value found. Land cleared for agriculture. But nothing was ever planted there. No farm, no village, just empty dirt, surrounded by armed guards. That same year, a man named General Philip Reese, retired US Air Force, gave a secret talk at a university. No media, No cameras, only students. He spoke of a mission in 1983, a black flight over Southeast Asia. Their goal, to retrieve an object buried in the jungle. The object, a cube. He said it pulsed like a heartbeat, that it made his teeth ache, that it showed him images. A forest, a boy, a ship made of light. He was silenced the next day. His interview tapes seized. His lectures canceled. When asked why, the school said, General Reese never worked here. But the students remembered, and one of them leaked a page from his journal. One sentence stood out. They are not coming, because they never left. And the cover-up started long before we were born. Whispers of a global pact began to surface. Historians believe it started in the 1950s, when strange lights were seen above Washington, D.C., and again in Siberia, and once more above the pyramids of Giza, all within 1 month. The public was told it was weather balloons, but behind closed doors, meetings were held, across countries, across enemies, and they made a decision. Silence is survival. Any evidence was to be buried, any witnesses discredited, any leaks erased. A map found inside an old Russian intelligence file showed 10 black dots. Each dot marked a known contact site. Places where the cube was believed to have appeared: India, Egypt, Peru, China, Greece, Iraq, Mexico, Turkey, Sudan, and Antarctica. Each location had reports of floating lights, unexplained symbols, and structures too advanced for their time. But none of them are on tourist maps. None are part of school books, and none are open to the public. Why? Because there is something there, and they don't want you to see it. In 2021, a small group of digital explorers found a deep cave in northern Peru. Inside, a wall, carved with what looked like a map of the solar system, and a large black cube in the center. It matched sketches found in India. It matched drawings stolen from the Vatican. It matched blueprints hidden inside the sound waves. But before they could finish recording, the feed cut out. All 5 explorers went missing. Their blog deleted. Their GPS logs erased. Only one video survived, uploaded to a private cloud by accident. In it, a voice is heard whispering, "The cube is not a tool. It's a door, and the wrong hands are turning the key." Who are the wrong hands? Governments, corporations, or someone not human at all. Whatever the truth is, it's buried deeper than we thought, and someone is fighting to keep it that way. The jungle is quiet now. No machines, no explorers, no voices, just the wind, and the sound of trees breathing over ruins. No one is allowed to see. But deep beneath the ground, beneath roots and rocks and time itself, something still waits. The stone walls of the forgotten city still stand, unseen, untouched, but not dead, because something inside them is still alive. A few months ago, a hiker in the Indian forest recorded strange vibrations near a closed-off zone. He thought it was an earthquake, but the trees weren't shaking, only the ground. And in the recording, a low hum, almost like breathing. When audio experts ran the file through a filter, something terrifying happened. The sound became a voice speaking a language no one had heard before. But somehow, they all understood. We never left. You were never alone. The deal was broken, and now we're returned. The hiker vanished 2 days later. His camera was found beside a river. The lens melted, the battery full, the memory card untouched. On it was a photo. A boy, standing before the old altar, wearing a black ring. The same boy from the legends. The same ring from the past. But here's the strange part. The photo was taken last week. That boy should be long dead, turned to dust. Unless he never aged. Unless he was chosen to guard the truth. Some believe the cube was never just a machine. Not a tool. Not a gift. But a prison. A cage. For something that should never be awakened. And now that it's open, we don't know what will come out. Some say the sky beings were saviors. Others say they were thieves. And a few believe they were escaping something worse. Something still out there. In the stars. Watching. Waiting. And the forgotten city. It was never a home. It was a signal. A warning. Written in stone. Carved not for the people of the past, but for us. For those of us who dare to dig too deep, ask too many questions, get too close to the truth. Because the truth was never lost. It was buried. Buried in stone. Buried in silence. Buried in fear. And now, it's waking up. This was the story of the 8,000-year UFO sighting they don't want you to know about. My name is John, and this has been another hidden chapter from the shadows of our past. See you in the next mystery.